Hello, family, friends, and fans. I'm Fletcher Road, and this is Fletch Anything. To now, Fletch Anything, looking back at New Zoo Review. Well, you might remember that. You might not know what that is, and you might not know what this is. This is Fletch Anything. It's a question answer type show where you can pop in your questions and comments in the comment section on my YouTube channel or Facebook page, and I'll get back to you. Then I'll talk about anything I want to talk about. It's one of the reasons I call it Fletch Anything. Another is that I'm Fletch. Fletcher Road, and if you don't know me, I'm a writer. Mostly, I got tons of books available in fiction and nonfiction under my name and others. They're available in paperback and for Kindle and audiobook format. If you've got Audible or iTunes, check me out there. You can get a copy of Tracking the Lone Wolf, The Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play as an audiobook or for Kindle or as a paperback. I suggest you like this show and subscribe to this channel because that'll make finding these Fletch Me Anything videos easier, and that will make getting a free book easier because I give away a free book at the end of every month. Last month, I gave away free copies of this. Tracking the Lone Wolf, The Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play. It's a different kind of a book every month. This month, I'm giving away a novel. It's an unlimited Kindle edition downloads of a book all of the entire last week of the month from Monday through Friday. So, if it's not your kind of a book, you can always forward the link to somebody who might like it and just wait patiently until the next month, and I'm bound to give you something that you'll personally enjoy. If not, you can just keep spreading the word to other people. I mean, it's free to you, it's free to me. Okay, so things that are not free, however, like my book, you got to pay a little bit for this, but it's very worth it. I've also got some swag for it. I got Sigma t-shirts. I've got a very cool coffee mug here from which I drink the blood of my enemies. The blood of my enemies. And look, like all of my coffee mugs, it works for left-handers or right-handers both. I don't discriminate. I don't believe in that. Okay, so aren't I a good person? Anyway, New Zoo Review. Okay, when I was a kid, I know I'm dating myself, but I don't BS around about my age. I'm not a younger man, and I'm youthful, but I'm not young. So when I was a kid, they had this show called New Zoo Review, and I believe it was 1971, maybe 1970 to 72 or 73 or something like that. A few years in the early 70s, and it was created by a man to star him and his wife. His name is Doug. I'm going to get this right. Momery. I always knew him as Doug. And his wife, Emily Peden, who's known as M.E. Joe. So probably her name is Emily Jo Peden. And so if you don't know the show, it's this dorky fella and his cute gal and these three animals, dancers in animal costumes. There's a Freddie the Frog and Charlie the Owl and Henrietta Hippo. So, and these are, and they live in a little on a set, as all characters do, and it's a small town kind of a. It looks like it's out of the Music Man. If you've ever seen the musical The Music Man, you probably haven't. But it's small town, a small town look to it, and the whole thing apparently was the brainchild of this fellow Doug Momery. He wrote the songs, he designed the sets, he wrote the thing. I think he created the whole show. It's likely that he created the characters and their designs. I don't know. I don't know how active Emily Peden was in the developmental process when you're married. It's hard not to be involved in it. But I think he's the sole creator, credited as being the sole creator of it. And I know he wrote the songs. And it's interesting. I got to say, I never had much respect for Doug when I was a kid. He looks to me to be a very dopey, silly person. But of course, he was the main character on a kids show. I mean, I was 4 when I was watching this, so I don't know why I was so judgmental about Doug, but not out of character for me. However, I will say this: looking at it as an adult, the songs are fairly good. He's a songwriter. I'm a songwriter, and it took the show was produced, as I say, in the very early '70s. So there's a heavy influence from the late '60s in it, the very late '60s and the very early '70s. So musically, you've got a lot of that late '60s fusion of funk and rock styles. You know, so and obviously the guy wanted to appeal to kids. So his music is kind of funky, but it's still got a childlike cadences to it. Uh, there are he likes to go into different time signatures in the middle of a song, which is really unusual to do anyway. And that's something I do. I wonder if I didn't learn that from him. But I mean, and he'll go from funk into a country feel in the same song, or from a 3/4 into a 4/4. I mean, in the opening song, it's the news review coming right at you. There are like four different musical genres in that one theme song, which is impressive, considering it's you know it's a minute and a half long. So musically, I got to give News Review a thumbs up. There are different types of songs. Some of them are ballad like. They usually give the girl Emmy Jo the ballad to sing. Um, the actors who voice the characters sing very often. Music is a central part of the show. The personalities of the actors are the voice actors are good. They're the owl. I don't know who does the voices, but whoever does Charlie the Owl is good. It's not they're not the same people who do who wear the suits. I don't believe, um, but they're all well acted, and the whoever's in the suits, if they're doing the voices or not, they're good. They're they know their business of being performers for children. And the set is very interesting. There's a owl. The owl, Charlie the Owl, lives in a tree, uh, and he's got an elevator, an outdoor, like a Victorian era elevator that gets him up to his treehouse and back. It's kind of weird because he's an owl, but whatever. Also, I mean, a frog and an owl and a hippopotamus are all the same size. So one abandons skepticism. One suspends disbelief. So, but it's good. It's just a very cute show. I'm surprised. I hadn't thought about it at all until I found it on Facebook. They reached out to me on Facebook and said, "Hey, we're News and Review. Look at our page." And I thought, "News and Review, huh?" Now this brings me to something else, because News and Review, fine, it's cute and it's fine. Um, Emmy Jo. Okay, so Emily Peden, a native of Texas, I believe, and you can see that if you look at her face. She looks Texan. Big face, big teeth. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? And so she's very pretty, and her character is very wholesome and nurturing and loving and all that. She's I remember when I was a kid. I guess I was about 4 or 5 when I was watching this show. By the time I was 6, I wasn't watching it anymore because we had moved. So I guess I was about 4 years old, and I had such a crush on Emmy Jo. I think looking back, I I kind of thought Caroline Ellis from the Bugaloos was my first childhood TV crush, but now I got to admit it's probably Emmy Jo. Why? She's smoking hot. Okay, uh, and she's heavily featured in the show, and she's. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Freud talked about. I know. As soon as you go from kids shows to Freud, you know we're in weird territory. But but Freud identified this thing called the whore Madonna complex, and basically what he suggested is that men tend to iconicize women in two ways. They're either a Madonna or a whore. And Lenny Bruce said this in a different kind of way. He said, "What every man wants is a combination of a nursery school teacher and a $500 a night hooker." And some other people might say, "Well, what a man wants is a whore in the bedroom, a devil in the bedroom, and an angel in the kitchen," or something like that. Some kind of chauvinistic thing like that. And I'm not saying that, but Freud said it, and it certainly is worthy of note. I mean, if you look at in the media, this occurs often. The Madonna whore thing. Ginger and Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island. Mary Ann was the Madonna, Ginger was the whore. Never mind that Mary Ann was smoking hot, but it doesn't matter. So Freud had this notion of men want a Madonna and a whore, but Freud's thing was this: men begin to resent the woman in her Madonna role for being the whore. And they can't really enjoy the whore because she's the Madonna. But mostly it's a matter of resenting the Madonna because she's the whore that the men want her to be. And that's the complex part of it. That's the part that stifles personal growth and the superego, the development of the superego. Freud would say. So and the Madonna whore thing, we see it a lot. As I say, we see it on Gilligan's Island and other places too. And for example, the Bugaloos, which was I was so in love with Caroline Ellis from that show, and I'm not alone. I've read so many times on the internet how, "Oh, you were my first TV crush and your beautiful legs and stuff." Knockout body. So let's look at, for example, that character, Joy from the Bugaloos, Joy Bugaloo, I think. And the thing is, she was very pretty and wholesome and loving. She was loving to Sparky the Firefly. She was bright, sunny, cheerful. Her character was called Joy. So she wasn't going to be a Debbie Downer, And she was all these innocent, sweet, pure, Madonna-esque qualities. But she was a 23-year-old woman or so, or early 20s, and she was a dancer apparently, and her body it's mind blowing, and her costume was very, very sexy. Designed, I don't think it was designed for her. I think any actress that would have worn that costume, and just about any actress would have looked pretty good in it. My understanding is that there was another actress in the running, and I don't know her name, Purdy, I think. Her last name was Purdy, Purdee, I think. And she wound up being on this other show. But Caroline Ellis just happened to be blessed with an extraordinarily pretty body. Legs that were out of this world. And the costume really accentuated this. Frankly, the skirt they put her in, very, very short. I'm not complaining about it. I would have liked to have been that skirt. But to say that there isn't some kind of a sex appeal to the character is to be ignorant. There is some sex appeal in that character, a lot of it. So many of us little boys had crushes on her. That was no accident. And I think a powerful part of the attraction was the combination of the sweetness and the sexiness, which a child doesn't understand is the development of the Madonna whore presentation of one single woman who's both sexy and sweet, both wholesome and just purulently inspirational. Okay, and I really do think they would have put her in a more modest costume had they not wanted to appeal to they didn't they were trying to arouse little kids, which is okay because and now let's look at and now when you do sitcoms it's different. If you're talking about Marianne and Ginger or even something like Batman, it's different because those are maybe not so much Batman. Batgirl definitely had the Madonna whore thing, definitely. Um, but we see it a lot in child's programming, and we see it in News or Review. That's the point I'm getting to. Is Emmy Jo, Emily Peden, who whose character is very sweet and wholesome and sings of nice things and sings in a high voice. She's not a great singer, but doesn't matter. She's very sweet and wholesome and nurturing and loving to Freddie the Frog and things like that. And she also always wears mini skirts, black tights or colored tights, and go-go boots. Go-go boots. So these are tall leather boots that go up to just under the knee. And go-go boots were worn in the late '60s by women of a by women to be hot. The idea is it draws the eye right to the thigh, and then the eye just keeps on going. And when you've got a mini skirt and go-go boots, there's enough. There, it manipulates the eye in a certain way. Fashion designers knew this in the '60s, when Twiggy and whoever else was Judy Carn. Remember Judy Carn? Go-go boots and mini dresses, laughing and all that. Apparently never wore panties. Judy Carn. My mother and Peter Marshall in their book say that she never wore panties. She always wore mini skirts, mini dresses too. So anyway, Emily Peden, Emmy Jo, is another one of these Madonna whore figures because she's a Madonna from the waist up with her headband and her sash and her sweet smiling face. And from the waist down, miniskirt, tights, and go-go boots. And this is presented to children to look at. And I'm not being a Puritan about it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I think it's fairly keen-minded because you got to understand your audience, know your audience, and little boy, generally boys like girls, not always, but who doesn't want to look at a pretty woman in a miniskirt and go-go boots, even if you're 4? And Sid and Marty Krofft knew this too. Their shows had a stunning dearth of sexuality in them until the Bugaloos. That was their second big hit, I think, their second show. And that was the only one that really had this kind of character in it. But, and I don't want to, I don't mean to defile that character or the actress with whom I'm sort of friends on. I'm a fan of hers on Facebook. But, she was an actor. She did she wore what they told her to wear, and she did what they told her to do. But it's just unavoidable that you will see a lot of the Madonna horror presentation in children's programming. You're just at least we see it twice. And then I think if you go Batman, because that was really mostly for kids. Yvonne Craig said once, they hired me and they said, "You're here because we're trying to capture 2 demographics, little girls and middle-aged men." And I think that says a lot about the way some children's programming is done. Just worthy of note is all. And also News or Review. Check out News or Review. You never know what it'll put you in mind of. But it's good. And also, it is one of those auteur type shows. To get back to the show, News or Review, it's an auteur project. And I always admire that. I'm sort of an auteur guy myself. And I like these, little, a guy with a vision type projects. And that was certainly that. Dud Mamory, Momery, sorry. I knew I was going to do that. All this talk of go-go boots and mini skirts. All right. Anyway, thumbs up to you, buddy, and congratulations on having a hot wife. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. I don't know if you can see News You Review on TV. Probably you can find it somewhere, but I know it's all over YouTube. So check it out and subscribe to their channel. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to my other channel, Tracking the Lone Wolf, and watch my other show, Tracking the Lone Wolf, and read my book, Tracking the Lone Wolf. And you can also check out my new rap single, Tracking the Lone Wolf, folks. That's right. So that's pretty much it. I'm Fletcher Roden here at Fletch Made a Thing. I'm here Monday through Friday. I go on for about a half hour or less, and I leave them up for about a week or so, depending on the timeliness of the subject matter. So there you go. These looking back things, I usually leave them up because we're already looking back anyway. And if you look back through other Fletch Made things, you'll find I talk about older records and older movies, things maybe people haven't seen. This week I'm going to talk about some new music from Peter Gabriel and others. So it could be just about anything here on Fletch Made a Thing. That's one of the fun things about it. So tune in again here on YouTube, and you'll see me then. Until next time, I'm Fletcher Roden signing off for Fletch Made a Thing, hoping that until next time you are happy and stay healthy. Bye, Mary.